All passengers aboard an An-24 passenger aircraft that crashed in Russia's Amur region have been confirmed dead. The aircraft, which had disappeared from radar near its final destination, was later found to have crashed approximately 15 kilometers from the town of Tynda. Initial reports suggest that the crash may have been caused by a pilot error during landing in poor visibility conditions. A fire reportedly broke out at the crash site after impact, further complicating rescue efforts. Emergency crews were unable to land at the scene due to difficult terrain. As a result, rescue teams had to reach the wreckage on foot while the remains of the aircraft were still burning. The commander of the An-24 aircraft that crashed in the Amur region was Vyacheslav Logvinov. This was reported by the MASH Telegram channel. The commander of the An-24 that crashed near Tynda was Vyacheslav Logvinov, MASH wrote. Before working for Angara Airlines, he completed his studies at the Tynda Begeldinov Military Institute of the Air Defense Forces, located in Aktobe. The man lived in Irkutsk. The pilot was 61 years old. He reportedly regularly flew An-24 aircraft. Vyacheslav Logvinov's daughter reported that she learned about the tragedy from the media. According to her, the news was a shock to her. This was reported by the Regnum agency. What a nightmare. Yes, my dad is a pilot, he works at Angara. But I don't know anything about what happened yet. I have no words, I'm in shock, the woman said. Logvinov's relatives are now trying to find out information about the search from the Ministry of Emergency Situations. The plane, belonging to Angara Airlines, was flying from Khabarovsk to Blagoveshchensk to Tynda. It disappeared from radar several kilometers from the Tynda airport. Later, a Rosaviatia Mi-8 helicopter recorded the burning fuselage of the missing An-24 passenger plane. As a result of the crash, according to preliminary information, there were no survivors. There were 49 people on board the plane. According to emergency services, according to one version, the plane crash occurred due to a possible crew error. It was made during the landing approach in conditions of limited visibility. A hurricane had passed through the Amur region the day before. It later became known that passengers had long complained about the model of this plane due to its unsatisfactory condition.
The Ukrainian Air Force has received the first unique mobile complexes for servicing F-16 fighter jets. This will allow for the most effective use of aircraft during wartime, according to the Air Force of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. The mobile complexes were developed, purchased, and transferred to the Air Force by the Come Back Alive Charitable Foundation, together with the Ministry of Defense and with the support of state-owned company Ukronafta. As part of an initiative called Project 61, a unique mobile ecosystem was created that meets the real needs of the front lines. The complexes significantly increase aviation mobility in wartime conditions when Russian troops are hunting down aircraft and airfields. There are three key modules: Mission Planning Complex, a mobile base for pre-flight briefings for pilots and escorting aircraft in the near zone. Two aviation weapon preparation systems speed up the inspection and preparation of ammunition and simplify its attachment to the aircraft. Previously, it took 10 to 12 people to attach a single piece of ammunition. Thanks to this complex, it can now be done by 3 people, says Sahi, a project representative. Ukrainian Air Force adds that financial support for the project was provided by Ukronafta, which contributed almost 1.2 million USD. The Netherlands, Denmark, and Belgium have become the leaders of an aviation coalition working to transfer F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine. In July 2024, the Netherlands officially completed the procedure for authorizing the export of 24 combat aircraft to Ukraine. In August, information appeared that the first F-16s had arrived in the Ukrainian Air Force but details about the number of aircraft and the countries that transferred them were not disclosed. That same month, Ukraine lost the first of the fighter jets it had received. This happened during the repulsion of a massive Russian attack on August the 26th. The crash killed experienced Ukrainian pilot Oleksiy Mess, call sign Moonfish. At the end of last year, President Volodymyr Zelensky announced that a second batch of F-16s had arrived in Ukraine from Denmark. At the beginning of the year, Zelensky announced new deliveries of F-16s after talks with Dutch Prime Minister Dick Schoof. The 5th Separate Kiev Assault Brigade of the Ukrainian Armed Forces carried out a unique operation to rescue a seriously wounded soldier using a ground robotic platform. The robotic vehicle traveled 14 kilometers under constant threat of enemy fire to deliver the wounded to the evacuation point. All this took place in the combat contact zone, where every second can cost a life. The operation was coordinated and supported from the air by a Ukrainian drone, which monitored the route and provided additional security. However, at some point the fighter needed urgent assistance, and then Ukrainian soldiers from a nearby position came to the rescue. Risking themselves, they came out of cover and provided support for their brother. Fortunately, the evacuation was successful. The wounded man was taken to doctors and is now receiving the necessary treatment. The team shared details of the mission. Every second is decisive on the battlefield. In the enemy fire control zone, our soldiers evacuated a wounded brother-in-arms using a ground robotic platform. This is not the future. This is already the present of the Ukrainian Army. The robotic system, developed and improved in combat conditions, allows the wounded to be evacuated from the front line without risk to personnel, the brigade reported. Such technologies are not only a symbol of progress, but also a real tool that saves the lives of Ukrainian soldiers. The armed forces of Ukraine continue to adapt and strengthen, using innovations even in the most difficult conditions. Earlier, for the first time since the start of a full-scale invasion and in the history of modern warfare, the Ukrainian military carried out a unique operation using only drones and robots. Soldiers from the 3rd Separate Assault Brigade in the Kharkiv region stormed a fortified Russian position and captured prisoners, completely excluding the participation of infantry and avoiding casualties among personnel. The operation was carried out in a well-coordinated and technologically advanced manner. First, the enemy fortifications were fired upon by FPV drones and ground robotic systems equipped with anti-tank mines and cumulative charges. When the next ground robot began to approach the destroyed bunker, Russian soldiers, in order to avoid destruction, declared their surrender. They wrote on a piece of cardboard that they were surrendering. This signal was noticed by Ukrainian fighters using a drone.